Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to compliment the GEF for organizing this event and also compliment all of you whose work has been recognized. The institutions that you work for, the individuals who have contributed to that good work, that has been recognized, and I think that deserves recognition and compliments. On this occasion, I would also like to share some of my anxieties with all of you. The first anxiety that I had today was that it is the 12th of February, and throughout the day I did not have to wear any woolen. In fact, as you might all have read, that January this year was one of the warmest Januaries that we have ever seen, not only in India, but also in other parts of the world. And further, the year 2024 was the warmest year recorded in modern times. Now, that is one part of the anxiety. The other anxiety is that all of you would have seen that in 2024, there was a glut of elections throughout the world. Almost half the population of the world took part in elections, electing their leaders. But what we are witnessing throughout the world, and these are two signs which contribute or add not only to my anxiety, but it should also be a matter of concern for all right-minded people. One is the decline in the quality of democracy. And the second is the growing inequality in the world. Now, why do I emphasize these two things? Because when you look at these two things in the context of climate change, which is the context for the discussion that we have in this summit, that both these things, according to me, the decline in the quality of democracy and the growing inequality, are factors which could affect climate action and our determination to fight climate change. We have already witnessed that one of the biggest emitters of CO2 historically in the world has pulled out of the agreement. Now, I don't know to what extent it will be a setback, but this kind of upheaval or shock, when the need of the hour, as Mr. Srivastav said, and as all of you would recognize, is collaboration. If the world has recognized climate change as one of the biggest challenges of modern times, then it is something for which collective action is required. Now, collective action can take several forms, but any meaningful action will have to mean constructive and creative collaboration. So, when we look at the determination of various governments, and as it was pointed out that almost all the governments in the world have committed to net zero. And I'm sure that they mean it. But if this determination is to be translated into action, then we need implementable action plans in all the countries. As far as India is concerned, it's a matter of great satisfaction that the NDCs which India had declared and submitted to the UNFCCC on the 2nd of October 2015. Incidentally, I was the Secretary Environment at that time when the NDCs were made. India was complimented for making one of the most comprehensive NDCs in the world. We had 8 NDCs. They were called INDCs at that time, and Dr. Mathur actively collaborated with the Ministry of Environment in that entire exercise. And when we went to Paris to negotiate the agreement, I happened to lead the official Indian delegation. Now, Paris gave a lot of hope, and the collaboration, the collaborative spirit, I think, was the biggest outcome of Paris. And India, as you would all know, has not only achieved some of the targets which were announced in Paris, but it has now declared an ambition to go higher up to 2030. It's another matter that as far as the targets up to 2035 are concerned, we read from the media that that submission is likely to be delayed, but that's nothing strange because many countries in the world are delaying the submission of their targets up to 2035. But then there are some disturbing signs. And if you look at the total financing that has been done for clean technology and climate action, in 2024, I think there is a decline in the total financing that has been done. So, in an environment where there was so much determination and there was so much desire to collaborate, these signs should be taken seriously and we should try to address these. But does it mean that I am pessimistic? No. I am not pessimistic for a variety of reasons. One, of course, is that there are few things in the world which have united the world in identifying a challenge which everyone faces. Second, it has gone beyond government declarations. And what we have witnessed today and what we do witness on the ground is that the private sector, the people at large, non-government organizations, civil society organizations, research organizations, startups, and many other agencies which are organizations that are directly involved or if not directly involved, even remotely involved in this pursuit, are showing that they are not only capable of taking action, but they are actually taking action. There are regulations that require all companies to submit their sustainability achievements, sustainability reports. So that, I think, is a positive sign, the resolution, global resolution, which involves everybody. The second thing which I feel is that, and I'll come back to the private sector in a little while, the second thing which I feel is that the private sector has always, throughout modern times, for the last 300-400 years, ever since the Industrial Revolution came, and even before that, whether it is the field of agriculture, whether it is medicine, or it is manufacturing, or AI, or you look at anything, pharmaceuticals, anything, it is the private sector that has been in the forefront of innovation. It is the private sector that has been in the forefront of scaling up technologies, commercializing technologies, and putting them on the ground and making people feel the benefit of those technologies. Governments have an important role. Of course, they do have an important role. And as the Chief Economic Advisor recently said, that government has to get out of the way. That is one way of helping the private sector energy. But I think government's role is also to remove roadblocks which come in the way. So all the governments will have to identify, sit with the private sector, understand the pain points, and work towards resolving some of those issues. Many of them were mentioned by Dr. Mathur in his address. So those areas need to be sort of taken forward and problems resolved to the best of the ability that government can. The other thing is, I think which is positive is the technological changes which are coming about. And in the last decade or so, you will find that a lot of work is going into clean energy, green energy, biofuels, and so many other things. So I think the technological prowess which exists with the private sector and government organizations, I think that will give us the necessary breakthrough. As far as clean energy is concerned, renewable energy, we have all heard for a long time that this can become sustainable. Of course, if there are evacuation facilities, robust evacuation facilities, but also if you have storage, and work is going on storage. When I was in the Asian Development Bank, we financed a number of storage projects, including one in India. Also, there are other possibilities which Mr. Srivastav mentioned, the collaboration which is going on with the countries. The Solar Alliance, of course, is one mega collaboration, but individually in the neighborhood, the putting together of grid, the sharing of resources, the harnessing of resources lying in the neighboring region where there may not be adequate demand, I think that is some work which is going on. ADB, I remember, funded one of the biggest wind power projects, 600 megawatts, which was located in Lao PDR, but all the electricity was going to Thailand. So I think those kind of opportunities have to be exploited. It's a win-win situation. We know so many countries. Bhutan is a good example. Himachal used to be a good example where the resources were there, the demand was not there, but when the resources were positively and constructively utilized for the market that exists outside the region, it benefited both the consumer as well as the state or the country where the production took place. So I think this kind of collaborative opportunities have to be looked at seriously. There are many other things which I can talk about, but probably this is not the time, and you would have already heard in all the lectures that took place. In any case, I think all of you are technical professionals and you would be aware of the technological aspect. I would, to conclude, just mention one last point. Of course, energy efficiency is an important area, and I remember again with Dr. Mathur, when he was in the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, we launched the National Mission for Enhanced Energy Efficiency, and that has paid good dividends. I think it's one of the successful missions launched by the Government of India. More than achieving the targets that were set, I think it created an environment in which industries started looking at energy efficiency in a meaningful way. I would emphasize, along with efficiency, something that I do always, everywhere, wherever I go, and that is the need for conservation. Energy conservation can take place, A, by adopting more efficient technologies. Of course, it can. But it can also change if we change our attitude and behavior and lifestyle. That is the resolution which was picked up in Glasgow when the COP took place. And I am personally very delighted because that resolution actually flows from one of the 8 INDCs which India had included in its submissions in 2015. We all have to commit ourselves to leading a life of conservation. Whatever expertise you might have, however you might try to benefit the organization, but if in your own life you do not practice what you preach, then I think we have not achieved the objective that we want to achieve. Natural resources, to my mind, are not to be exploited because they are available in plenty, or they are not to be conserved because they are scarce. I think if you rationalize your needs and conserve judiciously, you are showing respect to nature and you are showing respect to others who also need those resources. And that is why I spoke of inequality being a very big challenge in the pursuit of climate action. The weak, the poor, they are more vulnerable than others, whether they are the rich countries or they are the rich communities within a country. You have your safety net. You have your way of protecting yourself. But the vast multitude of people who are susceptible, I think they deserve our consideration. And I am sure that a conference like this will enable, not only in identifying and taking forward all the positive steps that have been mentioned, but also in making our sensibilities a little more humane. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.